Welcome to the Champion Breakdown,
where we highlight the gold nuggets, the tips and tricks to help you become the best version of yourself in your journey to becoming a champion. Okay, this is going to be a fun breakdown. KK was incredible, super surprising. I don't know why. I feel like we needed 3 more hours with her. She was so wise. I loved the very beginning where we talked about her heritage a little bit, and she did say, you know, she's got some Olympians in her family, and it made her feel like it was so attainable. And what I want our young listeners to hear from that is, it doesn't matter whether you've got aunts or uncles who have done it before. We're all humans. We're all in this together. And if you can believe that it's attainable, even if you don't have that, you're already so far ahead of the game. And I love that part of her story.
I know it's just so really incredible, because when you have something like that, you do feel like, oh, wow, they could do it. I could do it, because they don't feel like superhuman, right? Because you're like, oh, they're my family. I know them. And so just for everybody listening, just like you said, to just be like, okay, yeah, I might not have that in my family that I can just reference to all the time, but it doesn't mean that that is some superhuman person doing that, right? Like anybody has the chance to do it. And so it comes down to belief. You got to believe in yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And she didn't even talk so much about her family members who were Olympians. She talked about these coaches and mentors in her life that really seemed to shape her work ethic, really seemed to celebrate the competitiveness that she had inside of her. I love that, the water polo coach she talked about, that he was really into helping everyone just fight in a way to be the best versions of themselves. And yet he wasn't, it was this balance of like competitiveness, but he wasn't all about winning the gold medal. He was about the process and who you were becoming. And this is what we're hearing over and over and over again. This is a theme, you guys.
I loved that she's talked so much about celebrating the competitiveness, because I believe that to my core. I think that you have to have, and I feel the same way. Like we keep hearing all these people talk about like they just were really competitive. And it's so funny as a parent, because sometimes, especially our older son I can understand why people can be frustrated with that sometimes, because sometimes even like playing a little board game, he will just do whatever he can. And he gets so upset if he doesn't win that. And I just sometimes will be like, come on, it's just a board game. But that's how it was growing up too. Julia was the same way. She literally wouldn't even she would get pissed. She still does if she loses to ping pong. Like, it's so funny to see that competitiveness and and taking like the positive from that and what you can do from that, and just really like encouraging that, like, okay, it's okay. Let me teach you how to like not throw a fit if you lose, but also like, it's good to be competitive.
Yeah. And it's actually good to lose. Did you hear when she got that winning the board game dangled in front of her, but her sister took it away from her, and then it just fueled her in her life? That was probably a defining moment then, and no one knew it. And I think about my kids when they're fighting, and I yell to my oldest, just let him win, when my youngest is throwing a tantrum. And now I'm like, ooh, I don't think I'm going to do that anymore. No way.
I know, right? Well, then she did talk about that. She was like, you still have to have good sportsmanship and stuff too, but you do want to harness the competitiveness. And I just loved that, because it is hard, because as a parent, sometimes you're just like, okay, fine, I'm just going to let's do the easy road. Let's not fight and stuff. But it's like, well, actually, this is good for you guys.
Yeah. Her story, her journey to the Olympics, I actually wished we dug in a little bit more in that, but just the nuggets I took was, number one, it wasn't like it was a given. She wasn't the best. She only just made it. And I love how she talked about the year before the Olympics, where she got cut from the World Championships team. It could have gone 2 ways. She literally could have just been like, I'm not worthy. I'm not made for this. She talked about all her negative self-talk, but instead she got the help from a sports psychologist and did this reframing that she talked about. That is a superpower mindset trick that all of our champion tribe members need to learn, for sure. Sounds like.
I mean, that to me is everything, really. I mean, could you hear like all the negative self-talk she was doing to herself? And
shocking,
if she hadn't,
right?
I know. And
then the year later,
Yeah.
She's
But
an
if she
Olympic
hadn't
champion.
gotten that help, I don't know, how she would have, what would have happened, because that sports psychologist really taught her how to turn, those negative thoughts, that negative self-talk into something positive. And like you were saying, like the whole reframing thing. So focus on, what you can control, and reframing maybe a bad situation to making it good, and how powerful those tools are to have in her belt for the future. And yeah, to see what ended up happening. I mean, that story, I literally had tears and I had chills, and I was like, that was amazing. And to have it go on to where that teammate's now going to Tokyo, like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to watch that. That's going to be so fun to watch.
I know. Elise Williams, number 12. We're rooting for you. I believe she's going to bring home the gold with the team. I do. It's just, it's karma. It's going to happen. But isn't that also, our listeners out there, we're going to talk a lot about mindset and superpowers and working hard, discipline, all this stuff. But I think what I loved most about KK's story is this real compassion that she had. She didn't talk a lot about gratitude, but I know in that moment when she won the gold medal with the USA team, she didn't speak it, but I know it was gratitude that she literally had the opportunity, and she looked to her teammate that didn't get it in that moment. And I could tell she has this heart to pay it forward, which is so much the spirit of this podcast and this tribe we're building. It's like this ripple effect, this community of powerful minds and strong bodies with big hearts. And she's
You literally just gave me chills all over again, just hearing you talk about that story. I just think that is so cool that she did that. And just her talking about how realizing that it really is the process of the whole and the journey of who she became during all that. And even though in that moment when she as she calls it, cut from the team the year before, was probably the hardest moment that she really ever had to experience, it really helped her become the person that she became. And so that's why we talk so much about this. Like when you have these defining moments and they feel like nothing can be worse than this situation that's happening in that moment. Like, okay, well, actually this is the moment that's going to define me. So which path am I going to take right now? Am I going to, do all the really horrible self-talk and go down that path and feel sorry for myself? Or am I going to get help, have somebody help me figure out how to, make this into a really good thing? And even if she hadn't made that next team, it sounds like she learned so many skills on how to get through it that she would have, I mean, I don't know. She didn't necessarily say this, but it sounds like she would have had just as good of an experience if she hadn't made that team, just because of that process, going through that process.
100%. Yeah. And I feel the same way when she was talking. I just I believed her, because I feel the same way now about my Olympic journey. I didn't have a dream to come last in the Olympics like I did. I had a dream to win a gold medal when I was a kid, but I didn't. What I learned, I have so much gratitude, and you just can't do that without a dream. You can't learn without a dream. So keep dreaming, young ones, keep dreaming. And I loved how raw and real she was with just the mental health issues that her sister dealt with. And even she talked about herself, depression after the Olympics. I think this is a very normal thing. And it was a huge light bulb moment for me when she said, get help when you're not in your dark times, because that's when you can actually learn and get the tools and skills to deal with the hard times that they'll come for everyone at some point. And that everyone just needs a therapist. I was like, ooh, that's a good tip, KK.
Yeah, I really believe that. I think that that's, why we are on such a mission with this project, to get kind of the word out there on the mindset stuff when it comes to sports, because we always are looking at so many, like finding a strength coach and finding a specific coach for your sport. But how many people actually have, mindset coaches or sports psychologists or psychologists in general, and how important that is. And it's so cool that just people like her are able to talk about this so openly, because it just helps it become more and more accepted, more and more normalized, and make people realize that they're not the only ones out there that have had these experiences or these thoughts or whatever, and then how to deal with it. And just like she said, like, get a therapist. There's nothing wrong with that. Everybody should have one,
Yeah. We are having so much fun with this project. We hope you're enjoying listening into. We can't wait to share with you our next guest. Tune in to I Am a Champion next Monday. You're going to be surprised.